tape heads on a Sony TC-730. This was the erase record head from one side of it. This machine has 4 heads, and I ended up relapping all of them. So here I'm examining it before I go with the 600 grit wet dry paper. Here is an up-close photo of the actual wear caused by the tape rubbing across the tape head, and you can see the kind of divots and damage it's left over the years. So my goal is to sand that down and polish it so that is not there anymore. Here I'm using the 600 grit lapping paper. It's the same as the other wet dry stuff. This being my first time doing this, I was really just experimenting with different things. Off screen I have a wet sponge and some water. The tape heads are potted with wax, I believe, so you don't really have to worry about getting them wet, but it does help to get any extra debris off, especially with the higher grits. So here you can see there's some, I think that's actually wear from when it was manufactured, and you can see the wear, the tape spots, the wear from the tape. I am trying to be gentle with this because I want to get the wear down to the metal, but at some point you start getting into the head gap, and that'll ruin your frequency response. It's a little hard to tell from this, but it is being polished, or it's going to be. You can see there, especially on the top right, how it's starting to wear down. Moving on, I'm switching to the yellow lapping paper, which is listed as a 12 micron, which comes out to about 1200 grit. I'm basing this off the description of the eBay seller I got it from, Pegleg Greg 2. So if you're doing this kind of project yourself, that's where you can get a nice set of lapping paper. After that, now you can see those wear marks are starting to go away. I was being very cautious the first time around and ended up having to go back through and relap it because I didn't quite get those divots out. But here you can see the progress that was being made. Alright, now to the blue paper, which is an 1800 grit. So you can see some of those wear marks are still there. Alright, now switching to the pink, which is a 7000 grit. Now we're getting some really fine stuff. I don't know where to get anything that fine outside of lapping paper. Now here I moved on to the green lapping paper, which is 14,000 grit. Somewhere in here, either the pink or the green, I figured out it was really just best to have water flowing over this paper as you're doing this. Any kind of debris, whether it be dust or metal shavings or anything like that, you could feel on top of the paper. I don't think it caused any damage. The machine's running great now. But at this point, if you're doing this, I would recommend any sort of water flow system to keep anything off of the lapping paper while you're using it. And this is the last sheet. This is ivory colored. It's 60,000 grit, 0.3 microns. So here the head is under the microscope, and it's all nice and polished, except for that one spot, which I did go back for. Now, ideally with this, it should prevent it from collecting any dust and tape residue and screwing up my playback and recording. And here's a few photos of the freshly lapped heads mounted on the machine. Looks not bad. Now at this point, the tape heads are back on the machine, and I've done a rough alignment. Playback sounds nice, and I'm setting up to record some frequency sweeps to see how it compares beforehand. And you can see it looks like there's a little bit of high frequency loss, and that's just going through the preamps. I don't know if that's going to be significant later, but it was interesting to note. Alright, now playing back the frequency sweeps I've recorded, and you can see the left side's weak and the right side is exhibiting some odd behavior. Like that. What the heck was that? Doesn't look promising, but let's see the graphs. Here's the left before, and that is about a 5 decibel difference between the low end and the high end before it starts to roll off. Now here's after, which is a lot flatter. It's only about 2 dB until you hit about 5K, in which it just completely drops off. That, I think, is more of a biasing issue. Here's the right channel response. This is before, and it looks very similar. And the after, which oddly enough has a slight rise and then falls off again. Again, I think that's going to be corrected with a bias adjustment. Now for a little bonus problem. Of course, when you take these things apart and put them back together, they decide to have more issues. So, what's going on? Well, I get playback, and then it just decides to cut out on me. So we'll have a listen here. I've got my multimeter clicked on the power for this playback board, and the oscilloscope is on the signal at this point. And here, if I can do it any more awkwardly, I'm pulling up the meter just so we can watch it. And now we can watch everything as the problem occurs. So let's check it out. Also, hopefully the YouTube police doesn't come after me for this song. I'm gonna skip ahead real quick. And there you go. Machine's still spinning. We lose audio playback, although we can still see it on the scope. And you can see the DC changes slightly. Now I have not solved this problem yet. This is the state it's in currently, so hopefully there will be a follow-up video where I figure out why it's doing this. Until next time, stay safe and happy repairs.